give me a few minutes while I make sure I'm posting on all my social media platforms. So give me a few minutes to be able to do that. And we're excited about today. Finally come back from Nigeria. I was there for 12 days. I was there for 12 days. So hold on, y'all. I'm making sure that it's posted to my social media, especially my Facebook. I have friends in Nigeria who are watching. Okay, let's see here. Hold on. Just waiting for it. Hold on, y'all. I don't know why I don't see it. Hold on. If you all see it, you can comment because I want to make sure everybody is able to see it. Usually it don't take that long for me to see it. But you're tuning in to Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Valencia Stovall. And I will be getting started as soon as I can make sure that the link is over on my Facebook page so that I can share it on both of my Facebook pages. Okay. Penny, maybe I'm not seeing it on my end. And it says you're live. Okay. Okay, maybe it's on there. All right, y'all. I'm just trying to get it posted on my Facebook page. It's airing on WCEG network and talk radio, but I'm trying to make sure it's streaming on my Facebook page because I have some people that are viewing on there.
Okay, I just shared it to your page.
Okay, you did. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So we can.
Okay, get started. Okay. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay.
I'll work on it on this end. You go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Because then I usually share it to my other page as well. Okay. Well, we'll get started and hopefully I can pick up on it. Thank you, Penny. Well, welcome to our third show. And this show today, which is Monday, November the 4th, is my journey to Nigeria, Africa. And of course, this is a new season for us on Issues and Answers. And it's going to be exciting and a memorable episode. And you are, and for the next hour, you'll be listening to WCEG Network. We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak life into the community. You can log on to WCEGTalkRadio.com, watch us live as you are doing on Smart TV, on Roku, cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. Connect with us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and the Threads. Download our free WCEB mobile app. Alexa, play WCEG Talk Radio. And we are on 12 podcast distribution platforms. And I must give you this disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show host, which is myself, and not of WCEG Network. So you all don't have to say this came from WCEG Network. It came from Honorable Stovall. Thank you for your continued support and tell a friend. And of course, every episode, I do a last episode recap. So last episode, we spoke with entrepreneur Regina Breed, CEO of RB Consulting, on emergency preparedness. And she shared tips that we can use to ensure that no matter the emergency, our families are prepared. So I was told that it's on my page twice. And I don't know why I can't see it, but let me go another place. Hold on, y'all. And I'm usually able to see it. I don't know what's going on today. Okay, hold on. And I'm on Penis page. I still can't see it. Okay. Well, if you all are watching and you can see it on my page, just share it so that it can be on my other page as well. It's a crazy day today, but okay, we're going to go on with it. I dedicate this episode. Okay, my sister said it's live. Okay. I dedicate this episode in memory of late High Chief Emmanuel Adeyemo, who is Oboye, who was the Oboye of Papalanto, Ogun State, Nigeria, Africa. And I would like to say Ekason to my Georgia listeners and Odaro Daro to my Nigeria listeners. Y'all have been practicing a little bit. And it is because of the years of him sharing his African culture and experiences with me that I had a desire to visit Nigeria. Along the way, I have been blessed to know other Nigerians who live here in Georgia and in Nigeria who have encouraged me to visit. And guess what? Yeah, I have not met one Nigerian who does not love his or her country. And so every time I told them I'm going to visit, they would say, okay, you have to come, you have to come, you have to come. You're going to love it when you go. So I took the leap of faith, and this was my first visit to another country by airplane. So I visited other countries like Bahamas, Jamaica, Mexico, Canada, but never by airplane. And so in 2018, while I was still a state representative, it was the first time I actually had a desire to visit Nigeria. And there was a Kano governor and his wife who had visited the state of Georgia, had visited the capital. And this was through Senator Donzella James, who does a lot of work with African countries, especially with Nigeria. And his wife had an interest in a literacy program for the girls in her state. I was asked to set up a tour with Literacy Action of Georgia, and the tour went well, and the organization actually was interested in doing international training on literacy in Kano State at that time. Of course, I was so excited about the potential and impact. I really believed I was going and really believed I was going to actually get there. I had my passport expedited, took all these vaccinations, did a ancestral DNA just to know which part of Africa my ancestors lived in. And it showed Nigeria, portions of Nigeria, Mali, Cameroon, and Benin. And all that preparation, just to find out that it wasn't even going to happen. Y'all didn't make it at that time. But look at God with another plan 8 years later. I was able to go. In 2019, Chief Emmanuel and I talked about starting a Yoruba Day celebration in Georgia to be recognized at the state capitol. And so we were able to do that for several years. We collaborated the first year with a local chief in Georgia, and our first event was held in Riverdale, Georgia. It wasn't an ordinary Yoruba event. For those who ever attended the Nigerian events, there are always great celebrations, culture celebrations, food, and all of that, which we had. But the twist was to include African Americans in the planning of this particular Yoruba event. Yes, that was okay. Yes, that was a challenge all by itself. So the mission was to decrease the negativity surrounding the myths that African Americans and Nigerians have towards each other. And for those who have been able to interact with Africans, specifically Nigerians, you all know exactly what I'm talking about when I say about the myth that actually is out there. And we share so much in common and could learn from each other. And this is what continued to motivate me to say, yeah, I want to visit Nigeria. I heard so much. I saw so many videos. I even look at Nigerian movies, all of that. But it was nothing like actually being able to go myself in person to see all the things I had heard and seen. And so I wanted to know at that time my specific tribe. So I knew a gamut of where my ancestors had traveled from, but didn't know exactly what specific tribe. So I found out about the African ancestry, DNA, and they take the swab test of the male in your family, the oldest male in your family. Of course, it was my dad. And so we convinced him to take this DNA test. It came back and it said that my dad's dad and so on side is Yoruba tribe, which was, I was greatly surprised. I was like, well, I can't believe that. And my dad's mom's mom is the Mende tribe of Sierra Leone, which that would be a whole nother trip that's on my list. But getting back to my trip to and my journey to Nigeria, there were many failures, with the Yoruba Day resolution, trying to get it and sustain it. But we continue to promote it. Our last event that we held was in May of last year, 2023. And we had a special guest, His Royal Majesty Oba Saka Matimiyola, who's the Olowu of Owu Kingdom in Abeokuta, which is in Ogun State in Nigeria. And he visited, he shared knowledge and history about the Owu Kingdom and Yoruba tribe. And you all know I did a post on that as well as one of my radio shows about his visit and the Yoruba Day celebration. In the midst of planning a Unity Festival, High Chief and I were planning, he became ill and, of course, was hospitalized in July. And unfortunately, he never recovered. And I believe I have a purpose of keeping the mission alive, all the things that we talked about and discussed about what we wanted to see done in Nigeria, specifically in the Papalanta, Ogun State area. And that is why this trip was so meaningful to me when I was able to go. And I left on October the 16th and I returned back October the 28th. So y'all, I just got back, from this trip. And I had 4 objectives that I had set prior to going of things that I wanted to, make sure that I accomplished. One was visit Badagry in Lagos. It is the point of no return for slaves taken from Lagos, predominantly Yoruba tribe. Excuse me, y'all, I need to cough. Okay. Predominantly taken from Lagos, from predominantly the Yoruba tribe. Many of us, of course, have heard about Ghana. We've heard about Senegal as points of no return. But few of us knew that Lagos had a slave port, which I didn't know until I was doing some research. And that is located it's in the city of Badagry, which is in the state of Lagos. But the significance of this particular port is between 1789 and 1860, it had an upsurge of more slaves were brought to Badagry, and it was the last port of call within the Oyo Empire. And for every 10 slaves that left West Africa, they came from the Badagry port. And it was very, very strong when it came, very, very huge for the Oyo Empire. So for those African Americans of us, we know about the movie, the Woman King. And so, and in that movie, it talked about the Oyo Empire, Dahomey, and all of that. So those were the slaves. A lot of them were pushed down to Badagry when the other ports were closed off for slavery. They actually went down to Badagry. So when I went to Badagry, it was an adventure. I would say the whole trip was really an adventure. And when you're going to some place for the first time, you definitely have to have an open mind about things you're going to see for the first time. And of course, it's not like America. And so I knew that it was anticipation about, this particular visit. And so going to Badagry, we had to, I tell you one thing, the road, the traffic is nothing like here in Georgia. I consider us a very slow state. We real slow when it comes to traffic. When we left it, well, let me back up. I'm gonna finish up the 4 things I had on my objective, and then I'm gonna go through and kind of talk about each particular visit what happened, what was my experience, for each visit. So the first one I said was to visit Badagry, which was a slave port in Lagos State. The second objective for my visit was to visit His Royal Majesty Oba Jimo Rasak Jimo Famuyiwa. He's the only Papa of Papalanto, but I always call him King Jimo. And he was the one that installed Chief Emmanuel Adeyemo for his chief title. And I've been speaking with King Jimo for about 3 years, and we always were speaking by video or phone call. And I don't know if y'all remember me talking about the Iroko tree, and that was located in Papalanto. And he did a video for me to be able to see what the ceremony was like, and it was just amazing. All the things, like I said, I saw on video or read about, I was actually able to go and see it in person. Last year, he had already verbally authorized me, installed me as a chief with a chief title of Yamato of Papalanto. But upon my visit, I was officially installed. So I'm going to talk about that during this time. And I know an hour is not going to be enough to be able to talk about my experiences. So I'll definitely do a continuation, and I'll be posting pictures on my social media. I wanted to talk about it, and then I'll post pictures so you all can hopefully relive my experience that I have, and definitely won't be my last time going. My third objective was to visit His Royal Majesty, the Oluwu of Owu's palace, his palace. And remember, I told you he came in May of last year. And during that time, when he was talking to the entire audience, attendees that were there, he invited everybody to be able to come to visit him in his palace. And so there's one of my gifts that he brought to me was I have a portrait in my living room of the Owu Palace. And so I was just excited as I look at it every day. And then now that reminded me that one day I would get a chance to visit the palace. So that was on my list, y'all. And the fourth thing that was on my list was to meet in person my fiance, Honorable Kehinde Abiola, who's a local elected official there in Ogun State. And I met him through High Chief. And so, no, we didn't meet via online dating. A lot of times, African Americans are known, we hear about them meeting Nigerians online dating. So it wasn't an online dating how we met. And actually, we've been knowing each other for over 2 years. And so I was planning to go in October of last year, but of course, things out of our control happened that I wasn't able to go. And along the way, as I'm talking, you have questions. Hopefully, I'm able to see them on the Facebook, on the live. For some reason, it's not coming up like it usually does, but it's okay. And I know Penny is there on the other end, and so if there's some questions, they usually would pop them into so I can be able to see them and answer them. So the process of getting my Nigerian visa was an experience by itself. You need a letter of invite, which Kenny was able to give me, and then you had to show money in the bank account to prove you could afford your visit, that they want to make sure that you were going to return back to the U.S. You must have an itinerary showing your return date back to the USA. There's an application fee, and then there's an appointment fee. Yes, some fees. It was good. The office was in Roswell. They were very nice. Answered all my questions. For those of you all who know me, I always have a lot of questions. And so they were able to answer all of those questions that I had about the process of getting my visa. So remember, in 2018, I had already gotten my passport. So the only thing I needed was to get me a Nigerian visa to be added to my passport. So with all of that, I end up getting my passport, back in enough time. And because the office was in Atlanta, that was an advantage because I was able to go back to that office and pick up my passport with my visa already attached in it. And I was able to get a multi-year visa, so I don't have to go back through that application process again until that particular visa expires. So I'm able to now go travel back and forth. My plane ticket, I had already purchased it prior to me submitting my visa application. So I had to send in the proof of that as well. And of course, I had to have the yellow fever vaccination because I didn't get that last time when I thought I was going in 2018. So thank God it was approved. I picked it up about 8 days before I was to depart. So I'm just smiling. I took pictures there at the place where I took my was able to pick up my passport. And I appreciate Kenny for taking good care of me before and during my stay. He knows I was paranoid with a lot of stuff. I didn't know what to pack, because the weather there is hot. Of course, almost it's about as hot as here as a hot Georgia day in the summer was kind of like that. And so I didn't know, when you're going international, you have customs to have to deal with, making sure you're not taking stuff out of the country. And then when you get ready to enter into Nigeria, they have customs and passport services. You got to go through that whole checkpoint. So I think I've looked at so many videos about what to pack, how to pack your stuff, and what food you can and can't take. And it was crazy, but I was still excited about going. And so when there were so many unknowns trying to figure out what food I could eat, even though I've tasted and eaten some Nigerian food, I didn't eat a lot of it. So I had to figure out what I was going to do while there, what type of food I could eat. And of course, I had my malaria pills that I went to the doctor and got all of that, had my regular medications. So there was so many unknowns. Now, the trip, as was on the airplane, I flew Delta nonstop. Some people said, "You crazy, you didn't stop in between." No, I wanted to once I got there, I knew I was there. So that was about a 10-hour flight going to there. And it was just amazing just sitting there and watching how the plane actually goes over the water. And you're seeing the plane traveling over the water. And then when they got into the territory of Africa, the top part of Africa, there was just a certain feeling that I got. It was like, oh, I'm almost there. Then the last 2 hours, I was just too anxious because I was ready for the plane to get there. So upon getting off the airplane, that humidity hit me immediately. I was like, whoo! I was sweating so like when I got out the airplane and got into the airport. And so it was a little walk to get to the main area. So I'm still just not knowing where I'm going, what I'm supposed to be doing. And then all of a sudden, let me go back. When I got to the airport in Atlanta, we're checking in. My sister Ann went with me to the airport. We got our luggage checked in. And then, of course, the paranoia going through TSA checkpoint. But everything went through when I got through there. I was like, whoo. So I got my ticket, I thought I knew what gate to go to, went to the gate, then something said, check your ticket to make sure you at the right gate. Y'all, I was at the wrong gate. And they was like about 30 minutes before boarding was starting, and you need to be there when they started boarding and calling your zone. So I'm doing a power walk to the other side. Good that it wasn't a long walk, but so I'm doing a power walk from one side of that gate to the airport to the other side. So it wasn't that far. But I got there in enough time I could sit down, breathe, and then when they called my zone, of course, we loaded, got on the plane. We did have a lot of snacks on the plane. Kudos to Delta. The seats were comfortable. I was concerned about the long flight, but we were able to stand up, go to the restroom, stretch, whatever you needed to do. They weren't so strict when it came to that. So we made it through. Listened to a lot of music, reading, looking at movies, writing, so much stuff to do for like 10 hours and sleeping, of course. So going back to when I entered into Nigeria and I came out the airplane. So when I got out the airplane, and got to the point where you had to get checked for your passport and all of that, that's when I saw Kenny. So he came up to me, hugged, and kissed me. I was like still in a state of shock, like, what am I in Nigeria? Where am I? And so that was exciting, very, very exciting. So we left the airport. Before we left, I got a chance to meet his daughter, Muiza. very kind. And I can say you all, even from leaving the airplane, walking into the airport of Nigeria, the people were so friendly. Everybody was like, "Good afternoon, Ma," bowing, and honoring you. I mean, it was so nice, so welcoming. And so then we got in the car. And that's when the adventure started. So we're driving in the car, and I hear all this horn blowing, boo, boo, boo. No, very few traffic lights. So, we used to traffic light, we used to lanes, dividers in the lane, the white lines in the street to tell you which way to go. No, I ain't see all none of that. They just driving fast. And then I look over to the right, I see some cows with some horns. They just grazing along the side like it's no big deal. I was like, "Are those cows?" I said, "They look like bulls." She's like, "No," they laughing at me. I said, "No, those are cows." So we get to the hotel, nice hotel setup. Got a chance to eat dinner, um, played real safe. I got jollof rice, and I also had beef because I knew I could eat beef. And so we stayed in Lagos for 2 days, but the next day that's when we went to Badagry. So going to Badagry. Now that was a long trip. So we kids decided to take a cab. So we rode in the cab there so that he wouldn't be tired driving back. So I'm able to look around. I mean, I was just like a kid in a candy store watching, looking at all kind of things, stuff I had never seen. They have the vendors, the people that are selling goods are on the side of the road. So you watching all of their different setups that they have on the side of the road. And at the same time, you doing like this, almost like you're on a roller coaster because you don't know if somebody gonna hit somebody. They cutting in front of you, blowing horn, boo boo. You hear them fussing at each other. I said, "Now that's a lot of road rage." I said, "I'm glad they don't have to, they don't have any weapons because that'll be real awful over there." And also, I did see the police, and they at some points they were standing out in the middle, and they actually had rifles on their sides where you could actually see the rifles. So that was a little frightening, but and they would stop people every now and then. But the travel to Badagry, it was a long road. The roads were not a good roads. And that was one thing that was probably the most shocking. I had heard about the roads, but when you actually experience a lot of potholes that are in the roads, and along with so many people. But it was good to see all those Black people that looked like me and seeing them entrepreneurs because they had women with their goods on their head. They were walking. I'm seeing women with their children tied around their back. They're walking, they're selling, seeing a lot of motorcycles, They were swerving in and out. So it was busy. There's no way you could go to sleep on that trip. So when we finally got to Badagry, entering in as a big statue, when you first enter into the city limits, we got to the museum. There were like about 5 different tours that you can purchase. And so we did all 5 of them. And really, that trip should be a 2-day trip, but whew, I was tired when I got finished. But it was good going into the tour. You're actually seeing. So we know slavery after it came to America, but being able to experience in Badagry is before the slaves and our ancestors came to America. So seeing the actual relics of what the chains were, um, a relic, or even what the ships look like, pictures, reading all kind of information about that particular journey and how the whole slavery came about in West Africa, in other parts of Africa, but more specifically in West Africa. We saw they even had pictures showing depicting in America that was up there as well. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is." They had Frederick Douglass up there. They had um, it was one man from the college. I can't. My mind's gone. Wilberforce College. So the Wilberforce. They had a picture of him up there. We also went through They had an upstairs and a downstairs of that part of the museum, and it was hot, y'all. They didn't have air conditioning. It was hot. It was hot. I was saying, had my little fan, it was hot. But we persevered through it. And so once we got through, we saw some different statues. We saw a lot of relics of celebrations that the Yoruba tribe does. And so we took pictures there. And I'm going to share my pictures on my social media page after the show. So you all can kind of do them in series. Then after that was the first part of the museum. After that, and everybody, and so after that, then we drove out. And that when you get ready to drive out, there are two big statues. One huge, both of them are huge statues. One of a black male slave, and one of a female black slave and they like back to each other. And we took pictures, but it was just something about, even when I entered into that museum, about just thinking about the journey of what the ancestors actually took to get here to America and what all they had to go through. And it was so overwhelming. So once we left there, we went to actually to get on a boat, a mini boat, to drive over, not drive, but get on the boat to go over to the island where the actual point of no return was. So it wasn't on the land where the museum was. So we got on the boat, drove on the boat, maybe about 5-10 minutes, and we got to the island. Now the water had risen up from when you exit the dock to get on the island. And so they had I call them the motorcycle boys. They were there. And they was like, yeah, we'll take you out. You get on the back of the motorcycle, we'll take you across. But of course, it was a charge. So you had people fussing. The other people that were there visiting as well said, why y'all didn't include all that in the charge? And they said, well, we didn't know the water was going to be up. And I was like, what? So, that's when my American side came in like, how did they know that? But I had to remember that I was a long way from home and I was in a whole nother country. So I just was quiet. And so so I was making sure I didn't have any questions coming up, because for some reason my Facebook page is still not showing the live. And so once we got on the motorcycle boys took us there. Then from there, it was like a 15 to 20-minute walk to get to the actual relic of where the slaves were actually the last place they were before they got on the before they got on the ship or the boat to take them out to the ship. And so the motorcycle boys, we had to pay them again to take us a ride from there to the actual sand part of the actual beach for it. And then before you got there, though, there was a well that was the last well of drinking water that the slaves actually received, and they did it was done on purpose to keep them raised up, until they got the water. And then of course they still had a little whiles to go before they got to the place where they inspected them before they even put them on the little boat to take them out to the sea. So, just watching the Atlantic Ocean, the waves were very, very high. It was a nice, beautiful day. It wasn't raining or anything like that. And I actually brought me back some sand from the point of no return as my own memorable time for going there. Looking at the actual relic of the location where they had to walk them up this long ramp into the building, it's a lot of work that, of course, should be done to that area to restore it, so that it's very sentimental to us. And that's one of the things I was sharing with the guy who was the guide for the tour, was that it's very sentimental to African Americans, because this is a part that we don't know about. We know what happened once our ancestors got to America, but before then we don't. And I tell them, it's so much money that's spent on those type of tourism because of what it means to us. And it's just like, you think about Dr. King being in Atlanta, his memory, the house and everything. And there are some people who stay in Atlanta, in Georgia, They had never even visited the King Center or went through the tour or anything else, because what is here. We know he was important, and what happened in the movement was important, but we don't take it as when other people come from other states or out the country to come, they're all excited. So that's the same feeling. So that was my trip to but after that we went to another two other parts of the museum where we saw the slave quarters, and it was a small area. We went to another museum where we actually saw a dungeon where they led the slaves down into this dungeon. They had to wait, and it was way down. You could actually walk down into the dungeon, and they had statues that were down there. And when you had to walk to the dungeon, you could walk down to the dungeon, but that's where they kept them at before they took them to the slave quarters for selling. So they had a whole nother area where they actually auctioned them out. So that was that trip to Badagry. I know I only have about 25 minutes left, but that was just part one of my Badagry trip. And I don't know if y'all had some questions. Like I said, it was just so much. That part right there, I was able to check it off that day and just reminisce about what I saw, the things that are so uncommon to us here in America, that we take for that sometimes we take for granted. But being able to go over there and see that, it was just, that was a whole nother experience by itself. Okay, so now I told you I had 4 objectives. So my second objective was to visit the King Jimo. So I appreciate King Jimo so much. And so this happened like the next day. We had then went to left Lagos, and we were staying in the hotel in Abeokuta. So Abeokuta is the capital city of Ogun State. So that's where their state legislators are located at, in Abeokuta. And Ogun State is just like Georgia is to America, to the United States. That's where Ogun State is to Nigeria. Just like you have Lagos, the state of Lagos, then you have the city of Lagos. And so I just wanted to make sure I explain that. So in Abeokuta, and part of that area is Iwekoro local government area. And so when we got there, actually I went swimming at the swimming pool, enjoyed myself one day, and then the next day we actually went to see King Jimo. Now that's when I was able, hold on, back up. Before I went to see King Jimo, that the day before that, I actually got a chance to ride with Kenny to one of the villages. And so, like I said, those roads, you felt like you were on a roller coaster, a bumpy road. And then it had rained a little bit, so the weather, the mud, and all of that. But those people still trying to drive fast. I saw the people that were selling food along the way. You know how here we may stop and pull over. There's no stopping over there. You better not stop, because they're gonna blow the horns at you. And so they were jogging along, right along, selling the items through the window while we were riding in the car. But I got a chance to go to the village. I saw an actual mango tree. You know, I've seen the apple tree before, a mango tree, a cashew, the nut cashew nut tree, and a palm olive tree. And I saw a gecko, an orange color gecko, and I was just so fascinated there, and got a chance to meet some of the see some of the villagers, them walking, back down to the village. I saw where they actually make bricks, homemade bricks, where they put them through a little machine they had and lay them out, let them dry so certain amount of time. And these were bricks that they actually use in building the building. So that was a very good experience. And then of course I saw some more cows, I saw some rams, and I saw some chickens. And so moving forward to the visit to King Jimo. So that was a special visit, because as we enter into, and there was a lot of people along the road on our way there, a lot of people that were selling items, all kind of items. But on my visit to King Jimo in Papalanto, I had heard a lot about Chief talking about Papalanto High School where he attended. So we got a chance to pass there, took pictures. And then we got to King Jimo's palace. I was just so excited. I was just so excited. We were met by a guard, and he let us in, greeted King Jimo. I didn't know at the time that um, the chief's daughter and his brother were going to be there. So I got a chance to see Miriam in person. I've been talking to her for years, video and by phone, but I got a chance to meet Miriam and his brother, who's a ballet, which is like a chief position in that particular area. And so I got a chance to meet them. Then we went downstairs, and King Jimo presented me, installed me as chief. And so as Chief Mrs. Valencia Stovall, and I was installed as the Yamato of Papalanto. So Papalanto is a city that's located in Iwakoro local government. So just like we have Fulton County, Clayton County, so Iwakoro is like the county, considered like a county. And then Papalanto is a city that's located there. And Ogun State, I told you, that's the state that's in Nigeria. So all of that, goes together. And so it was presented, I was installed on October the 22nd, 2024. And this is my certificate here. And I'll probably post a picture of it. I just wanted you all to see the authentic, picture of it. And it has my name on it, and His Royal Majesty Oba, and it has his name on it, Papa of Papalanto, Owu Kingdom, Abe Okuta. So the Owu Kingdom was the first kingdom established under the Yoruba tribe. And so, and that's I've talked about that several times with that. But since I only have about 15 minutes left, I wanted to go and talk about the chieftaincy title. And a lot of people I know, when I talk with my family and even friends, a lot of them say, what does that mean? Here in America, we don't know that's about a chief or king or queen or all of that stuff. So Yeye means mother. And the mother who knows what's best for Papalanto, or the mother of Papalanto. And the person who knows how to organize, these are what are called the qualities. And so with when it comes down to Nigerian and African, everything has a meaning, the purpose and a reason with a name. They don't just name their children, they actually wait so many days before they even give a name to a child. Whereas here, we already have decided the name of our children before we even have the children, but it's different. It's culture there. And so that was the meaning of that. And because of all the work that I had been doing with Chief Emmanuel, and all the work we plan on doing, continuing when it comes down to development in Papalanto, because it's a lot that's needed, y'all. It's a lot that's needed. And so being able to see it, we had talked about an economic sustainability program, a project for the women there, especially the single parents that may be there, and helping them and figuring out a way where we can be able to correlate the work there and the work here in Georgia, the economic impact of it, including in the tourism. So it's so many layers of things that we plan on doing. And especially now I have this chief title. I can't just have a title. You all know, just like when I was elected as a state rep, I didn't just have my title. I made sure that my title meant something to the people who elected me. And so same thing with being installed or appointed as a chief, even though I'll be here in America, but having the obligation there. And with that title comes the honor. So this, what you see, my bracelets here, and he presented those bracelets. And this is my necklace here that is symbolic whenever I wear it, showing that I am an installed chief from Nigeria. And this particular title is recorded because they do recognize it in their government there in Nigeria whenever any chief is installed there. And so I am very honored. I appreciate King Jimo and the people of Papalanto for allowing me to even have this title. It means so much. And of course, as African Americans, we don't understand the real meaning of it, but it's part of my job to help educate my family, my friends, those who are interested about what it means and about the work, and engaging you all to help me with the work. So that was not my last time going, and I have a multi-year visa, so I'll be going, of course, back and forth there. So I did want to share that meaningful part of visiting King Jimo and why it was important. And on my way into when I on my way to King Jimo's palace, I did see the tree, and it had a white cloth wrapped around it. And this particular tree is significant from what I was told, because it's like a healing tree or a peace tree. So anything that's wrong that's going on in that local area, there's a ceremony that's done where they come to this particular tree, and afterwards, whatever that situation is resolved. So I didn't get a chance to get out, and I took a picture, but everything was, we had a timing for everything we were doing. One other thing I did want to tell you about my experience in King Jimo's palace. So they gave me some food, offered me some food, and of course, that's part of hospitality, food and drinks. And so I had pepper soup. I know my pronunciation is American, but in this soup, it was food that looked like, to us, it looks like mashed potato, but it's definitely not mashed potato. The texture is not as loose as mashed potato, but it's used where you're using your hand and you dip it into the sauce. So I had beef with it. So I was eating the beef, then all of a sudden my lips start burning, my eyes start running, my nose start running, I start having a fever, my throat was burning, and they were laughing at me, asking, "What's wrong?" I said, "This is hot, this is hot." So that red pepper that they put in there is nothing compared to the hottest, I would say the hottest chicken wing that we have here, or super buffalo hot. It has nothing on that, and this is one of those that taste that continues to linger. I had water that didn't help it. I mean, I was still burning even when I left. My mouth was still burning. So I had to, that was one of the funny parts of it, and they were laughing. I was laughing too at the experience, but I learned next time I hear that word pepper soup, stay away from it. Do not eat that soup. So one of the questions was, what duties or privileges does the chieftaincy entail in Africa and the U.S.? So here in the U.S., only those, and even in Africa, only those that are from the Yoruba tribe would understand or recognize that the chieftaincy, that title. Or anytime I wear my my necklace or my beads or any other type of regalia. Now, this particular dress, y'all can't see it on, but this was a gift from my dear friend engineer, Tunde, who I met through Chief Adeyemo, and his organization is Royal Diadem Children's, I think Children's Network. And Chief and I named a nonprofit here in Georgia, Royal Diadem International Consortium. And it was in relation because we were doing a lot of talking about development and projects that we want to do together. Engineer Tunde also is very big with the scouts over in Nigeria. And so we were even talking about that, about how to expand that even in the areas that is not already there, like in Papalanto and some other areas in the Iwekoro local government. So I want to thank her. I had to go with it, but since portraying my African American and in Africa, so that's why I have on my regalia. So it's a really, really nice dress, very long dress. So getting back to the privilege and the title. So with that, okay, okay, I'm gonna try to stand up so y'all can see it. Okay. All right. So there was a question about the title. Thank you. And so here in the U.S., unless they're part of, like I said, the Yoruba tribe, they probably wouldn't even know what it is, or what you do. But they do honor you with a bow, as being a chief, because that's considered a high title, and you're not ordinary. And even going back to visit Nigeria, if I wear this going through, I will be acknowledged, like I said, for those who are of the Yoruba tribe, for that. But I'm still learning a lot about it. I don't know everything. It's a learning process. It's, of course, something very new to me. But I know that it is a high ranking and considered very high ranking, in the country of Nigeria, especially in in those states where the Yoruba people are located. All right, all right, I got a few more minutes, y'all. Okay, so I did number one, I did number two, which was my visit with King Jimo. Number three is the Oluwu visit. So we got a chance to visit the palace that I had been seeing every day on in the living room, and just driving up to it. So it sits in up on the hill. And so in Abeokuta, you have what's called Olomu Rock. I think I'm pronouncing it right. And that's one of their local places for visitor, historic sites. And the importance of it is that when the war was going on, especially with the Dahomey tribe, Oyo Empire, and they were moving people more west, into, I think it would be west, but we'll just say moving into out of that area. The Owu people are known as warriors, and even when you go into that area where Olomu Rock is located, Abeokuta, right in that area, you would actually see a statue of Sakiti. I have to get the name right. Y'all know I'm not good at pronouncing. I'm still practicing that. But anyway, there's a statue of a warrior, and that was symbolic of the Owu people. So this particular rock, it says, y'all, if you ever been to Rock City, it kind of reminds you of that, where you can climb the rock, and you're able to see out all over Tennessee if you go to Rock City, or even the highest point in Georgia, Ball Ground. If you go there and you go all the way up to the top of that rock, which is the highest point in Georgia, you're able to look out and see all the kind of things. So at Olomu Rock, you're able to look out and see all over the land. And so as warriors, they were able to hide in the rock so that their adversaries or their enemies could not get them. So they could never defeat them when they were in Abeokuta, especially where the rock is, because everything is very high up. It sits up. So this particular palace sits up in the rocks. So when you're driving up a hill to get into it. And so we did see some people on the outside that were that lived in that area. And then we got to the gate. They had guards that were there. But this week, the week that I went, was actually an Owu festival. They had a festival going on several days. So I didn't get a chance to participate to see the whole festival, but I did get a chance to go to the palace. And when I got there, I was just so excited, listening. The Oluwu was speaking. Of course, he was speaking in Yoruba. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but I was just excited to be there. And then Ken was able to go talk to someone about me coming to see him. I had already texted him and told him I was coming, just like I did with King Jimo. So I was able to get an audience with the Oluwu, which, it was I was just excited, period, y'all. I'm just happy the whole trip. And so we got a chance to go in and sit with him. He introduced me to his high chief, the other Obas, and telling me what their different positions were, within within the Owu kingdom. So he's the head person over the Owu kingdom. Then you have a person over another part of another kingdom. So it's a lot of different levels. I don't have time to go into all of that right now. But anyway, so as we sat there, he thanked me for hosting him. And, when the chief was alive, we're hosting him in Georgia. That was his first visit to Georgia. And so he also gave me a gift. King Jimo gave me a gift of garments that I'm actually going to have sewn, that's being sewn over in Nigeria. So when I go back, I can pick them up. And then the Olawu, his wife, she presented me with some special type of garment that came from the palace that I have with me, that I'm going to get an outfit sewn from that as well. So we got a chance to talk, and of course, y'all know American politics came up. So y'all know I was like, I didn't want to come all the way here to Nigeria to talk about American politics. I want to talk about Nigeria, but I couldn't help myself. I did give my expression about the Democratic Party, about the Republican Party, and all of that, because they want to know who would I think, whatever. So I'm not getting into that, because that's not what this broadcast is about today. But y'all do know the election is tomorrow, and the world is not going to go to the end, going to come to an end if depending on who's in office, because God is still in control at the end of the day. So anyway, so that was exciting. We took pictures. And so one thing that you all should know, whenever anyone is actually coming before a king, the men have to lay prostrate. So they actually have to, lay down, and they'll call Kabiyesi-O, Kabiyesi-O. And Kabiyesi is another name for king or Oba. And the women have to also kneel down as well. So Kenneth was making sure he told me that before I went in. He's like, you know what you're supposed to do? And I was like, yeah, I remember. So before I could even say anything to the king, I did do that. And I also did it for King Jimo as well. So all of us, just a learning process, is just exciting to be able to see stuff that you read in books and magazines and look at movies, but now actually being able to experience it was a whole different level. And definitely want to see, other people to experience it as well. So now I did that about the visit with the Olawu. So we didn't get a chance to go into Olamu Rock, but I did take pictures outside of it. And I also got a chance to see the first church that was built in Nigeria, was located in Abeokuta. So we took pictures there. I saw International Church. Some people may know in especially in the Riverdale area, Redeemed Church of God. Their international office is there. I did see a few on my way to Lagos going back. I did see a few American companies. Now in Abeokuta, the only American company I saw was DHL and Domino's Pizza and Cold Stone Creamery. And so even with some of the food I was able to get me some chicken. I had some fried chicken. Now let me tell y'all this quick funny story, and then I'm gonna get to my last objective. So I was ordering the food, called down to the restaurant. Now, mind you, we had been going down, sitting, eating at the restaurant. We ate breakfast every morning. And so I was calling down to place my order, and I said, what kind of chicken do y'all have? And they said, oh, we have the chest and we have chicken lap. And I said, the chest? I said, you mean breast? And they said, we have the chest and chicken lap. I said, chicken lap? What is a chicken lap? And so those of y'all that like me, I don't know what no chicken lap is. And so I was laughing. Kenny was laughing. And I was like, what's a chicken lap? So Google is my friend. I Googled it. And guess what, y'all? The chicken lap is the thigh and the leg. And then I said, why did it call it the chicken lap? And Kenny said that at some areas, some places, they have chickens as their pets, and they sit them on their lap. So that's why they call it chicken lap. Y'all, I'm going to tell y'all. I laughed so hard. I said, a chicken lap? I said, this. So I told him, I want the breast. I want the thigh and the leg. I said, the leg quarter. So give me the chicken lap. And I said, I want it deep fried. Because for those who may not know, the chicken, when if you ever eat Nigerian chicken, they don't cook their chicken like ours. We like our chicken falling off the bone, where theirs is not cooked as long as we cook our chicken. So I had to tell them to deep fry it. Now I think they kind of over deep fried because it was like extra crispy, but it wasn't burnt, but it was extra crispy. But guess what? I had my leg quarter, and then I also had fried rice. It was good. So I was able to eat. I stayed with a very simple diet with food, chicken lap. So y'all remember that. very simple diet of food. Of course, you could not drink the drinking water. Everything was bottled water. So I had that. I had also brought some bottled water with me, and I had some little snacks that I brought as well because I just wasn't sure. And so I was very, very careful about what I ate. I didn't eat anything from any of the street vendors, or anything like that. So I wasn't sick, but when I got back, I don't know, it was part of jet lag or what, but when I got back, I did have some traveler's diarrhea. But I'm feeling so much better. And the time difference, okay, before our clocks went back, it was 5 hour difference. So I'm up in between times. So I'm like living between two time zones, trying to figure out what's going on. So even when I wanted to call family back home, I couldn't call family back home because they were asleep. Like it'll be 10 o'clock there and 5 a.m. Here in Georgia. And I'm like, oh, I can't call them. So I had to send them a text and then wait for them to respond back. By that time, the day has gotten later in the day. So it was a good adventure, very good adventure. I definitely saw some things that were challenging, that was there, but it's no different. You know, when you look at even here in America, we have areas that are challenging, probably not as challenged as there, but you know, I saw a lot of potential, a lot of great things, and actually that was um and that's definitely talk about later. So I only have a few more minutes, y'all, because it's after 5. My show is only an hour. I thank Penny for indulging me in my journey to Nigeria, Africa, my first journey to the motherland. And so my last objective was to meet Kenny. And so we, like I said, we've been knowing each other for about 2 years, and started dating seriously for about a year. I never thought about a long distance relationship because it is a challenge. But we started off as friends, continue to be friends. And so I did not have the intention originally that when I got there I was going to be married. That wasn't that, but it ended up that it happened. And so that whole adventure was funny and hilarious by itself. So I give y'all the short version of it. So we went to the registry. It wasn't a big elaborate wedding because we had not planned for anything like that. And so we went to the local government where his area, where he's actually the elected official in that area. And so the guy who was the marriage registrar, of course, he read out what the laws were over there, and was saying that if you did this, there was a 5 year punishment in prison, and so all that. So I'm trying to listen, and he's like, "Okay, you might need to take notes." So I'm not thinking about it. I'm like, I'm smart. I remember what he's saying. So at the end, he was like, "Okay, how many offenses did I say, and how many what's the total amount of years?" And I'm looking like, I don't know, I heard 4. But the answer was 8 because it was who you could marry on your mother's side, who the groom could marry and who the bride could marry. So they have stipulation, which is the same here in America, but it was just how the whole process. Then the next thing they asked was, they told you about, what your vows were, and then they had another one that actually had a fine of $5,000. And so he was asking about that. And I was like, I don't remember, but I remember $5,000 was the fine. So everybody's just laughing. And so during the process of the ceremony, he's still talking. And so we had to sign this affidavit, agreeing that what we said was true and we understood. And so, uh, so Kenny is Muslim, so he had the Quran that he put his affidavit on, and so with that they had him. He kissed the Quran. So when it came my time, I'm a Christian, so I put mine was put in the Holy Bible. So after I got through giving my oath, they said, "Okay, you can kiss." I said, "No, I don't need to kiss the Bible. We don't kiss the Bible over there. Back at home, we just, give our commitment." So they're like, "Oh, okay." So then they bring out this little paint pot. It's a silver pot. It's almost like if y'all remember you be in church and they pass around the collection pan. So it looked almost like they were just a little bit bigger. So they was like, "Okay, yeah, what you gonna bless? Y'all have to bless us. Y'all to cover. Y'all have to bless us." And I was like, What you talking blessing? They're like, yeah, you got to put some money here. So I told them, I said, well, I'm gonna give you a rain check. So they was like, what? I said, a rain check. And they said, a rain check. I said, yeah, that means I'm gonna give it to you later. And they said, oh no, because they thought I was, they said, you gonna write a check in the rain or you gonna write a check for the rain or something. And it was just so funny because to be in a culture that I didn't understand a lot of stuff that they were saying, and they, they were laughing and talking, and so Kenny had to explain what was going on. So for me to be able to bring my American version about rain check, it was just hilarious. Everybody was laughing with that. And then when we got ready to take the vows, we did our vows just like we do here in America. And then but their marriage certificate is of course not the size like ours. Ours is like an 8.5 by 11. Theirs is like a 8 by 14. It's real huge. You have like 3 different copies you got to sign and all the witnesses. So some of the people from his local area was actually there as witnessing the ceremony. His two daughters were there. His friend, one of his friends was there. So it was a very nice, like I said, I wasn't maltreated, mistreated. And as I begin to wrap up this particular show, I just want to, leave everybody with the impression that a lot of times we're told different things about Nigerians, about Africans, as African Americans, and of course they're told things about us. Kenny and I have discussed that about myths about African Americans. Even when Chief was alive, we used to talk about it back and forth. And the reason that Chief and I got along so well was because we could understand that there are differences in culture and we may never agree, just like people always hear, oh, Nigerians, Africans have many wives. No, Kenny does not have many wives. We talked about that first off for the very beginning about that. But those are things that it doesn't make it wrong because we don't practice it here. That's their culture and their tradition. Just like there are things we do here in America that is symbolic to America. And when other people that are immigrants visit us here, it doesn't mean that we're right and they're wrong. It's the difference in culture. And that's what makes the beauty of working together and understanding and accepting their cultural differences, whether you agree with them or not. But that's how that person was raised. And understanding over there, the children are very manageable. And even I noticed that even when I was substitute teaching here in Georgia, that the children that were African children, you could see the total difference when it came to African American children, or even just American children. I ain't gonna say just African American. The level of respect that was given, and how they value education, and being able somebody asked a question, I answered that. And then being able to see the plight of things that they have to go through over there just to survive. And of course, you all know our dollar value is much higher than their dollar value. So you get a good deal, for this. So like 176,000 Nairas in American dollars, about $125. So you could see when you get into the millions, you get into the thousands of American, you could do so much more over there. And that's why when it comes down to investments, that's why you see a lot of the foreigners, especially Chinese, going to Africa to buy land, build manufacturing. Another thing I was going to tell you, on our way to King Jimo's location, Lafarge is one of the cement companies that's there, one of many. And on the way, the roads were just bad. And you would think in front of the cement company, at least the road should be decent, but you could tell that they had been graded or whatever, but they weren't upkept. So I'm asking questions about what's going on. And everything is still has to do with how the government is set up. So there are a lot of, like I said, a lot of opportunities. Don't let the negativity of thinking that there's so much crime. There is no more much crime than it is here in Georgia. You riding in your car, somebody carjacking you here in Georgia, or you getting out your car and somebody doing something. So it's crime everywhere. We didn't go in certain areas. So I didn't feel like, oh my goodness, something gonna happen to me or whatever. But overall, it was a great experience. I appreciate all my Nigerian friends telling me, and I have so much more appreciation um, for for the people that come from Nigeria. I can't speak about other parts of Africa because I didn't go to other parts. I went to Nigeria. And I can understand their drive that they have when they come here. They're very focused. When they with anything that they're doing, they're very, very focused. And because I think because of where they're coming from and coming to America, they only know is to be successful. It's to, hey, we got to succeed, we got to work, we got to work. And one thing I can say too is that it was very relaxing over there. When I went, and I did feel very relaxed. I didn't feel the pressures of the American society that we have here. And then just to know that you have trees, fruit trees, and all everything at your fingertips that you could just, and then of course it's a large farming state. It's very huge when it comes to agriculture, just like here in Georgia. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to going back several times. And any of y'all want to join me, I'm definitely going to be working on setting up visits there and having a debriefing before we even go, go there. What is that you're looking for? What is that you want to see there? So there was a question about how did I keep my family surname. So just like here in America, it's the bride's choice, or the both of them decide on whether I would take on the name of Aviola or Stovall. But because my name, I have a name that's known a lot. Well, I ain't real famous, y'all, but name that's known a lot by Stovall. Then we did talk about me keeping Stovall, but I might keep it for a while, then I might change it up. I don't know. So for right now, it'll still be Stovall. It just depends on when I want to put in the Aviola part of the name. And the next comment by my good friend, Miss Marcy, was we have to be careful about looking at everything through a Western lens. Yes, we definitely have to be careful about what was presented to us that's really may not even be the reality. And I'm not saying everything that's presented was a lie, but a lot of it was a lie. And it was so that it had you so fearful that you don't want to even visit or even thinking about going to Africa. Even when I talk to some people I know, I said, I'm going to Nigeria. It's like, what? Girl, you going over there? I said, yes, I'm going. I'm excited about going. So I went with a positive attitude. I went with opportunities. What can I do? If I want to buy land there for my granddaughter who's 8 months old, so that when she gets older, she has property, somewhere else outside of America. And so, and some of you all have visited other places, Ghana, some other places, Kenya, and all of that. So I'm excited, y'all. I just wanted to take this time to share with you all my journey to Nigeria, my first journey to Nigeria. It was not devastating. Don't have post-traumatic syndrome from it. The flight coming back, it was I think it was 12 hours coming back. But it did, I mean, it was long, but it seemed like, I guess, because I wasn't so anxious. I was really sad. I didn't want to leave, but Ken is in the middle of campaigning as well. And so that's the other thing. But him being an elected official, I was a former elected official. We talk a lot about politics and comparing between Nigeria and American politics. And so we don't get into the arguments, but we have some strong conversations. And so I appreciate him, his friends, all of them were so nice. And actually, y'all, the dress that I have on that I post, we had on I had on my American outfit, and he had on his traditional wear. And then we changed. We had gotten our two outfits alike. They made the same material, just designed a little different. And we got that, and that particular dress was made within about 2 days of getting her to me choosing in the book what kind of dress I wanted. And the seamstress, her name is Fatima. Shout out to her. for sewing that dress, and then I went for fitting, make sure it fitted right and everything, and then I have a hat. So you all will see the pictures when I post them. And so it was a great experience. I'm looking forward to going back again real soon, real soon. So thank you all for listening. There's another show that has to come on after mine, and so I don't want to take up that time and allow Penny them to rest and reset in between. And I'll be resharing this video again. I don't know what was going on with my Facebook or my phone. I'm usually always able to look at it, answer questions, comment, and all of that. But it didn't happen, so the show must go on. So thank you all so very much. And I'm signing off. So from moving forward, you are see on my flyers or see when I'm interacting with everyone, you will see Chief Mrs. As my title added on to Honorable. So Honorable is my American title because I was a former legislator, and then Chief Mrs. is my African title for my chieftaincy title that I received at Yemito of Papalanto. All right, so till the next time, y'all. Y'all will see us back November the 18th. And remember, we are now taking nominations for Georgia Single Parent of the Year for 2025, but we'll be taking up until December. And ML King Jr. Advisory Council, we're taking nominations as well. So I'll start posting that on my social media platform so you all can have that. The time has called us. All good things must come to an end. But we'll be back Monday, November the 18th at 4 o'clock with some other things on issues and answers. And our goal is to educate you on those things that you might not think about unless you're in a situation to be concerned. You all, I don't have to tell you about going to vote because you don't be inundated with everything about going to vote. So I'm not even going to mess up your intelligence or insult you by telling you to vote. Only thing I say is I see y'all on the other side of the election for tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.